we've seen it all, and we never have we?
Welcome in to a very special edition of the Kickoff presented by Ram Trucks. History Playoff Edition. College football playoff is upon us. Gary Striewski, Randy Scott alongside. We have some friends coming to join this party throughout the show. We got a history upon us. The 12-team college football playoff starts tonight. We're going to run through all of the matchups. We're going to start where it starts, and that's in South Bend, Indiana. It's the battle for Indiana. The Hoosiers, a 10 seed, going to South Bend. Who better to help us, Gary? Who better to help us do this?
Heather Dinich,
the most famous alum
of the bracket.
The most famous alum program of Indiana, of Bloomington. I want to start with a judgment of the bracket itself, Heather. And let's use Indiana as a 10 seed as an example. Did the committee get the seedings right?
Well, given the parameters of the system, I believe the answer is yes. Because remember, it's the 5 highest ranked champions are guaranteed a spot in this thing. So that's why you have a 3-loss ACC champion, Clemson, with the number 12 seed. That's why you have Boise State at the number 3 seed. They are one of the highest ranked conference champions. This is how this works. The question is this how you want it to work, right? Is this how you want the field to be seeded? Should there be reseeding? Should there be consideration of the fact that Ohio State could play Oregon again? Should it be the 12 best teams? Should it be 14 or 16? So I think at the end of all of this, the commissioners who are in charge of the playoff, along with the presidents and chancellors, there are 11 of them. They're going to meet on the morning of the national championship. They're going to ask all of those questions. But yes, given the way the system is set up now, I do believe they got it right because a lot of it had to do with the way SMU played in the second half of that ACC championship game against Clemson. And they did have one fewer loss than Alabama, and the 2 losses they had were to CFP top 25 teams.
Heather alludes to, it's 12 teams right now, but is it going to be 14? Will it be 16?
Yeah.
The answer to that, yes, for sure. That's definitely coming down. Hey, Heather, because I look at this bracket and I think it looks wonderful. You have been the person every single week that leads us into a projected bracket. We finally get the 12 right here. What have you heard has been the biggest qualm with the way that this seeding has come about? Because I see it and I listen to you and I don't see any issues with any of this, with what the committee decided.
Well, Oregon might have an issue with it because they're the number 1 seed and they arguably have the most difficult path. Yes, they have a first round bye, but if you take a look at that bracket, they could have to face Ohio State again. They could have to face Texas to win it all. And it's the path for the number 1 seed, in theory, should not be so difficult. But you look at Penn State's path, and you could say, and the narrative is out there, that they, as the 6th seed, have the easiest path because they play 11 seed SMU and then Boise State. But, guys, I've got Penn State on upset watch in the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State. That is where I will be.
Hey, you and I both. All right, well, let's focus on the goings-on then, Heather, in South Bend, where it's already snowing. It's going to be a night kick there. It's the battle for Indiana. In your estimation, what would a win mean for this Indiana football program and the university in totality to go into South Bend and knock off the Fighting Irish in the inaugural CFP?
There wouldn't be anything bigger in program history. And I can tell you, as a student at IU, I covered 1 national championship. It was the first national championship I ever covered, and it was soccer under Jerry Yeagley. This is a program a school known for soccer, basketball, swimming and diving, and music, okay? Not football. So if you put this win on the board, there is nothing else that would compare. I mean, Indiana hasn't even had a share of the Big Ten title since 1967. And contrary to popular belief, I am not that old. So this is the biggest win that I would ever see as an alum.
Heather heard about that Big
she
Ten
read about
share.
it.
Yeah, she heard about it. Many decades later, she heard about it.
It's on like a scroll in the library there in Bloomington. Heather and I talked. We were probably in the same press box in 2001.
Okay.
And Antoine Randall put like 48 points on Northwestern. It was like the only like road trip I got to make when I was in college. No big deal. All right, so Heather, now that we both established that we're not that old, Marcus Freeman is someone that I remember like as a player. And now he's got a 6-year contract extension with Notre Dame. How, if at all, does that affect a team heading into a playoff game like this?
Well, from the moment Freeman was announced that he would be their head coach and the promotion from the defensive coordinator, these players have galvanized around him. He has so much support within that locker room from those players. I think that this commitment to him is so important to their success because not only did they invest in Freeman, they are investing in the program as a whole with the coaching staff, with facilities, with NIL, all of the things it takes to compete at the highest level. They are committed to that, and it does start with Freeman. And I think the fact that he was able to rally this team after the loss to Northern Illinois and not let that derail the entire season, which it easily could have, I think speaks volumes to just the way that they do respect him in that locker room. And he had that head down mentality, go back to work, and it paid off for them.
Winner of this game, they advance to play Georgia, who just recently, we heard the news that they are preparing to play in that quarterfinal game without Carson Beck. How does this affect Georgia's outlook here in the CFP, Heather?
Well, it has a huge impact on it. And quite honestly, I had Notre Dame beating Georgia even before the news of Carson Beck came out. Part of it was because of the uncertainty, but also because this Georgia team is beatable. It's been beatable all season. Ask Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. You know, they lost 2 games, and part of the problem is because even with Carson Beck in the lineup, they've had turnovers and penalties and mistakes that have been costly. This is not the same Georgia team that won back-to-back national titles, and that's okay. But the point is, they can lose, and I think this is just a further punch to the gut if Beck can't lead them.
I was going to say, that offensive inconsistency, we saw a little bit of it. When Gunnar Stockton came in.
Well, he turned the tides, too, Carson Beck, after that string of games where it was turnover.
Exactly.
He pieced it together at the end of the season.
The road is there for Indiana or Notre Dame, and Heather likes Notre Dame. We call that an emotional hedge because obviously she wanted to see Indiana do well. Heather Dinich, the queen of the bracket, we appreciate the insight. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games.
All right, let's move on to the 12-5 matchup here in this, whose orange is moss orange.
I like the burnt.
Burnt or Clemson, 61 degrees and sunny. 61 degrees and sunny down there in Austin, Texas.
No, that's nice.
Yeah, that's going to be
It's weird down there, but it's nice.
Okay, but you know what's going to be a little warmer?
Talk to me.
On the seat of Quinn Ewers. You like that?
Okay, here's the thing.
You like that, though?
What camp are we supposed to fall in? What
happens if he struggles?
Is this our fault as the amassed media lighting the fire underneath the Quinn Ewers hot seat and then stepping back and saying, his seat's hot?
No.
Why?
You want to know why? Because we didn't write the 7-figure check to bring in the pressure from the outside.
Everybody's getting 7 figures.
We didn't donate a single dollar to the NIL.
Everybody's getting money down there, though. It'd be weird if Quinn Ewers wasn't getting money.
It'd be like, being like your last name's Kennedy. And you're like, you have political aspirations.
Where are you going with this?
Like, it's royalty. The Manning name at the quarterback position is royalty.
I understand
They cut the check to bring him in. They can't act surprised when it's like, why do you guys want to talk about Arch Manning all the time? Because you have a package of plays designed for him, because he's come in and saved your season a couple of times, and because your starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, is struggling to the point where not only is the NFL maybe not an option this year, staying at Texas next year may not be an option. He may transfer.
All right. This isn't 17th century France where you just anointed king out of the womb, all right? This is SEC football and Quinn Ewers, but more importantly, Steve Sarkisian has the trust. And can we just unequivocally say that we, for the most part, trust him to run an offense?
Yeah.
He has ran more offenses successfully than we give him credit for.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Right.
So if he sees something specific in Quinn Ewers, and he has stood by that and said, I'm not deviating from this plan. Is Arch Manning part of schemes? Is he part of packages? Yes. but Quinn Ewers for 60 minutes gives us the best chance to win a game. By the way, Quinn Ewers versus Cade Klubnik, they played in the 6A state championship back in 2021 in Texas. I think Klubnik
like Carrollwood
came out on top. Yeah, he's a South Lake Carroll guy. Quinn Ewers. I don't know where Klubnik went to. But all that to say, you have to roll Quinn Ewers. Arch Manning is there. He has packages installed that he can get a little bit of taste, right? But give it to Quinn, man.
All right. Talk to me about Clemson here for a second, because there's that pressure where it's like, you guys shouldn't be here.
Sure.
You shouldn't be here. Like, okay, it's down here in the ACC. Congrats. You're an ACC champ. Would you say it's like winning a VCR in 2024? Like, that would have been cool in 25 years ago.
Now everything's cyclical, so that'd actually be kind of cool
maybe,
right now.
Maybe it is kind of cool.
I still got some VHSs. Pocahontas, what?
Is there pressure on, like, let's talk about the colors of the win for Clemson. Is there pressure on them to be like, not only do we belong, like, we're gonna cause a little chaos?
How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, you'll never know.
We don't know.
Clemson, we know, is a successful playoff team. They've won a couple national championships in the last half dozen years. Yes, new players, new quarterback, same coach who knows how to win. He has stood his ground in saying, this is how we're gonna build our program. And that's what he's done. They came on strong. Back half of the season, Cade Klubnik, nobody was giving him any credit. Nobody was showing him the near amount of love as we should have. And now they're in a position that we've seen Clemson be in before.
Let's go just around the riverbend. What's your pick for this game?
But I don't see them winning. Texas is a 12-point favorite for a reason.
Dang right.
Give me Texas.
I think that Clemson. I think the Texas defense is going to be what carries the mail. Allows Ewers to get his legs under him. I agree. Hook him. I think Texas takes care of Clemson. Once again, it is time for Built for Success, presented by Ram Trucks.
Come
and we're
on.
looking at the 8-9 matchup that very much has our focus in the CFP. Tennessee is visiting Ohio State. The Vols have been rolling since a November loss to Georgia. Meanwhile, the Buckeyes are trying to get the taste of a season-ending loss to Michigan.
A couple of non-tasty morsels
out of their mouths. The winner of this game gets to face #1 overall seed Oregon, and that game would be in the Rose Bowl. But you gotta beat Tennessee to get there if you're Ohio State.
Not gonna be easy.
No, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be freezing as well. Let's welcome in Spencer Hall from the comfy confines of, Spencer Hall. So we're an academic building down there in the ATL. Spencer, 16-degree kickoff, I think, in Columbus, Ohio for this thing. Boys from Tennessee are coming north. How, if at all, will the cold affect this game?
It will make everyone in the stadium cold. That's it. That's all I feel comfortable saying. And that's because a lot of the players that you see on Ohio State's roster are not from Ohio. There is no natural antifreeze you get in your blood simply by traveling to the state of Ohio. I'm sorry to inform Big Ten supremacists of this, but football's football. And to quote Michael Irvin, when we played in that cold, we was cold. That's it. Everybody's just going to be freezing.
So is there one sideline or the other that's better equipped? Like, do you look at Tennessee and say, all right, maybe that speed travels just like, anything would, or is it just, hey, everybody's going to be cold?
I would say that if you were looking at style of play, Ohio State is more disadvantaged by the cold because I hate to inform everyone, Tennessee is a power run team with a defensive line.
Yeah,
that's it. They are a brutal team to play. They are not the same team you saw with Hendon Hooker. They are a team that is a line of scrimmage team first that has a freshman quarterback that they kind of work around. Nico Iamaleava is a work in progress. You will be able to see that. Unlike Ohio State, their offensive line is largely intact. I think that counters a lot of the advantages that Ohio State has. Ohio State's big advantage is on defense. So if I'm looking at what this game is going to be, if the cold is a factor at all, it's going to make each team really focus on their strengths, which are already the defensive line, the defense overall, and whoever can get the run game. And I do have to point out, Tennessee has an advantage in the run game here because Ohio State's offensive line has been banged up and ineffective in that department.
All right, Spencer, the way you've sort of constructed this pie, it sounds like, by all indications, Nico Iamaleava's impact on it is going to be but a slight sliver. Is that how you see this playing out? Is that how it has to play out if Tennessee is going to go on the road and score more points on an Ohio State defense that absolutely shut down the Big Ten this year on that side of the football?
I'm going to use $10 and buy a cliche here. Points will be at a premium. points will be at a premium, and the quarterback who makes the fewest mistakes will likely end up on the winning side. And I say that both for Nico Iamaleava and for Will Howard, because at times he has been pressured, at times he's delivered, and at times, like in the Oregon game, has not delivered. He's been inconsistent. And by the way, when a quarterback is inconsistent or somewhat limited, look around. It's not necessarily on the quarterback. Team sport, especially when you have a guy whose performance depends on at least 5 large men over 300 pounds being able to consistently block for him and to have a run game that will protect him. Like Ohio State fans, I think, could be very hard on him, but has he had the protection that he's had, not just in the pass game, but in terms of the threat of a run game? He hasn't, and Ohio State's running backs, I think, have largely been failed by, yes, circumstance, injury, and a lack of execution along that offensive line.
I mean, that's a tough trio to overcome. But I mean, you look at Travion Henderson and Quinton Judkins, it's like they were supposed to be not even thunder and lightning, just like thunder and thunder, like all season for Ohio State. It just hasn't happened. So I want to go back to Will Howard and what you said about inconsistency in big spots. So I might be asking you an impossible question. Essentially, which Will Howard are we going to see? Like, forecasting the matchup against what Tennessee presents defensively, how do you expect Will Howard to play?
I think Will Howard is going to be under pressure consistently. And I think that means you'll get a little bit of both, because this offense does not have the option to sit back and just run the ball. They cannot do that. So they're going to need to get the ball to the strength of this offense, which is the receivers. Will Howard at times has been very good. At times he has pressed. If he manages to just take what they give him, and I think you've seen Chip Kelly do this in terms of play calling, give him easy reads, give him some comeback, give him a little bit of play action when they can do it, and give him some easy throws and move him around a little bit to escape that pressure and start getting some momentum early in terms of offensive play calling and in terms of confidence. Those things, they don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but they're very real, and they're going to be especially real because I think this is a tense home crowd, y'all. I know it's going to be a supportive home crowd, but there's going to be some tension there. I know that some people have said this is the game that gets Ryan Day fired. No, but it's definitely a game where you say, we are going to start a discussion. We're going to have a referendum. We're going to have an uncomfortable conversation about whether you enjoy this job, whether it's working for you or not.
Okay, so you've brought us to that question, and based off what you just said, I think we know what answer you're going to go with, but why shouldn't Ryan Day lose his job if he's presented with yet another big game on a monumental stage for Ohio State and doesn't win it, a la all these times that he's lost to Michigan and a la all these times he's yet to bring a national championship to Columbus, which that is the only currency that they want to cash?
Mostly because of this. You can't see it. This is my hands. I don't have to go to the thumb, I believe, in order to count the number of losses he's had as a head coach. As you point out, 3-0 all time at home versus SEC programs. Got them in the playoff, all right? Double-digit wins consistently. They have one thing they can't get over, and it's this current version of the Michigan Wolverines football team. That's really it. That's the thing that's stopping them from moving any further, and where they're at is already like the penthouse. They're just not quite on the roof. And the question for me, right, I think we look at this kind of backwards, right? Because I know Ohio State football doesn't need a single coach. They don't. They're consistently incredible. They pick a good coach, he becomes great. They pick a great coach, then they become a legend. Institutionally, they'll be fine. The question I have is for Ryan Day. Dude, do you want to live this? Do you want to go to the grocery store every single day with somebody asking you when you're going to beat Michigan? Is this working for you? That would be the question I would have. So if you say he's coaching for his job, I would say, yeah, but in a sense that is this what you want to be? Is this the kind of pressure you want to enjoy? Because I think he's a good football coach. I think he can be a good and happy football coach somewhere else. I know that's rare. We're considering someone's personal happiness when doing this, but that would be the question I would ask.
What a novel concept.
Spencer Hall putting Ryan Day in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, right? Yeah.
And East Carolina's new head ball coach.
He'll love Greenville, man. Correct. They got Cookout. They got Biscuitville. All right, Spencer, who wins this thing? Who wins, Tennessee or Ohio State?
I am going to go ahead because they are at home, and only because they are at home. I am going to take Ohio State, and that's mostly because I think Ohio State defensively they're going to carry this one forward. I think it is going to be this. If Tennessee won, I'm like 51-49 on this, and it's only because of the home situation.
Okay.
Like, it is a razor thin margin here. Okay, so I will take Ohio State by like an eyelash.
Points are at a premium, and the winner again gets number 1 overall seed, the number 1 team in the country, Oregon. That is Spencer Hall. Thank you, Spencer.
Thanks, y'all.
Appreciate you, buddy. All right, so we pivot off of that.
That would set up then a rematch of Ohio State's early season loss when they had to go to Eugene.
That was a fun one.
You don't think they're licking their chops at maybe exacting some revenge against these still undefeated and waiting for somebody Oregon Ducks?
And the difference also between going to Autzen, one of, if not the most hostile, loudest stadiums in college football, to a neutral, beautiful, but a neutral site Rose Bowl, you got to think that favors Ohio State. But they got to get through that defensive line of Tennessee. That's not going to be easy. Let's pivot off of that and get to the 11-6 matchup. You talk about a decided
This is like a 12-5 in the NCAA tournament. This 11-6 right here.
Yeah.
I like SMU.
You like SMU? Okay.
All they did was run out of time against Clemson.
It's going to be cold.
Yes.
There in Happy Valley. Penn State, only 1 loss on the season. You know, I mean, and it was to Ohio State. Really, their only tough game of the season. Where do you feel like SMU poses a challenge?
I think SMU, it's less about SMU and more James Franklin. Again, he's in that sort of same boat as a Ryan Day when, they beat the team they're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
Even to some degree, they really don't. But big games on a big stage. Now, listen, SMU, the 11th seed here in this 12-team playoff, but like against top 5 teams, what is he? 1-13, 1-14. All time, whether they're playing at Beaver Stadium or on the road. I just don't know if Penn State can handle a big game. And this isn't a big marquee opponent. It's just a big marquee game.
Yeah.
And I just don't trust Penn State in that regard. And again, SMU, all they did was run out of time in that ACC championship against Clemson. Were they down double digits at halftime? Yes, but then they came back. Clemson snuck away with it, but there's a reason SMU only lost 1 game this season.
If they dig that same hole, SMU, against Penn State's defense,
that's going to be a little tougher.
It's going to be tougher sledding. I want to talk about pressure here for a second because you outlined some of what's working against Penn State, certainly against James Franklin.
Yeah.
I do think the fact that this is not your sort of boogeyman school, you know what I mean? It's not Michigan. It's not Ohio State. It's not anybody from the SEC.
But aren't we normally scared of things we don't know, like the ocean or space? We fear what we don't know.
Or of the dark.
Or SMU.
Scared of the dark in general.
We don't. Remember, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Show.
All right, so
I had to watch it with the lights on during the day.
I think there's SMU pressure, and here's why. I think
pressure
they are
for
playing.
SMU?
There's pressure on SMU.
Okay.
The debate of whether or not they should be here
That's crazy.
is not between SMU and, say, like Army or someone.
Okay.
Someone else who would be like relatively fresh injection of new blood in this. The debate is between SMU and Alabama. So what SMU is playing for is the little guy. SMU is playing for SMU and Boise State are the 2 representatives of the also-rans, of the ones who were always left out of the party, the street urchins with their faces pressed against the window while the rich folks ate inside. You know, like an Oliver Twist, like a Dickensian situation in honor of the holidays. So I think the pressure on SMU is you can't get your doors blown off.
Okay.
You can lose. You can't get embarrassed.
You're saying this is the new Cincinnati from a couple of years ago? The Desmond Ritter-led Cincinnati?
What happened to Cincinnati?
They got smoked. Yeah. That was also a smaller field to contend with. I would say Boise State, not in that conversation. I would say Arizona State is that team for the also-rans. That was a team that was picked to finish dead last in a 16-team Big 12. Yes, it's a Power 4, but SMU has showed us the entire season that they belong, in my opinion. And that's also a reason I got them winning on the road.
You had SMU winning on the road.
Yeah, man, they got the Heisman winner next year.
Kevin Jennings.
Yeah,
I wonder if you can bet. I bet you probably can put a wager on that now because it feels like that's the time to do it. I do want to get to the quarterback room of Penn State quickly because I think it supports what you're saying about SMU.
Sure.
Okay, so Drew Aller has already informed coaches, I'm coming back. Great. Bo Pribula is like, cool, you're coming back, I'm out. If you've watched Penn State football this year, and you and I are a couple of ball knowers.
Yeah.
But if you watch
of ball.
the Nittany Lions, you crush a lot of tape.
Obviously.
You see the packages that they have for Pribula, and you know what he does to and for this offense. I'm not saying it's a difference maker necessarily against SMU, but it's not nothing.
Sure.
And how, if in your estimation, I mean, it probably supports your pick. Like, how do you feel like Penn State adjusts?
I don't
to that?
think it's going to be anything detrimental to the team, and James Franklin even said, these players who are faced with the CFP and the transfer portal overlap, because you have to get into the portal, otherwise all of those jobs get accounted for teams who aren't competing.
Correct.
So I understand the business side of having to get into the portal. I don't think this affects the game plan or the first 15 or the first 20 plays that they scheme up offensively. Does it limit them a touch? Sure.
Yeah.
Drew Aller's been the quarterback. He remains the quarterback.
Sure.
Everything runs through him. Everything else is sort of like and we also have this.
But Texas has showed you how important having two quarterbacks can be. I mean, you lose a Quinn
on
Ewers and you got
account
an
of
Arch.
injury, sure.
And I'm not saying Bo is Arch, and even Bo would probably not say that, but he wants his chance. He wants to shine. It was interesting that it was Rhett Lashley, the head coach of SMU, who's like, we got to get rid of this December transfer portal window. Like, let's not have kids choose between, do I go transfer or do I play in the playoff?
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I think there's enough money behind all of this, not only from a TV side, but like there are wagers coming through, and you want to know what you're betting on, what the roster looks like, and you want to know what the TV product is going to look like as well.
Speaking of having plenty of money, you think you square me a couple bucks? Just a couple.
I'll get Brad. Actually,
just a couple bucks.
I've won the Battle of the Anchorweights so far, so I feel like you gotta.
Let's not put the
get
cart
me
in front of the
breakfast,
horse, which is, by the way, who I'm going
and
with.
SMU.
Give
Okay,
me the
so that's your
ponies.
pick.
Give me the ponies.
Snug?
Yes.
Is it a beatdown?
It's going to be snug.
Okay. Penn State, 12 points.
Woo.
Yeah, I feel good.
And what's the line on this?
Feel good about
What's
Penn
the line
State.
on this?
What is the line on this? I think it's about 4.5, 6.
It's going to be snug.
I'm guessing.
Give me SMU.
Hit me with a promo, kid.
Pony up.
Let's go. Hit it. Hey, Gary, guess what? ESPN Plus content is now on Disney Plus. Bundle subscribers can stream live events, original content, and studio shows from ESPN Plus. Start streaming now.
That's what I wanted to tell you.
All right, the kickoff presented by Ram Trucks. It is time now for another blind ranking. You love this. You've curated some of this content on social media.
I love a blind ranking.
Yes, and that's what we're going to do with the most impactful players left in the college football playoff. We're going to reveal them one at a time. That's reveal them.
Yes.
One at a time where they should be ranked.
J-Bone,
we got some help.
Need some help.
Come on, kid. The first name that is set to be revealed. I can see through it.
Oh.
Yep. Quarterback,
Quinn Ewers.
Texas.
Okay.
One of them.
And this is going to be
Where's Quinn Ewers?
Quinn Ewers.
Look at Quinn Ewers.
His impact on the CFP.
The most impactful players on the CFP.
Understanding that I know some players that I want to put. Give me three.
You're just going to decide for both of us? No, that's okay.
It's a game for me.
Yeah, no, totally.
You're just,
okay.
You're
Right.
just,
Yeah.
You're just a proxy.
The thing is, he really could. You can make the case for him to be number one.
Really?
Because if he struggles, Arch Manning comes in. If he struggles, it takes down.
All I'm saying is there's a
one of
particular
the top
running back
teams.
who doesn't tote. If he doesn't tote the rock for over a Bill 25, Boise State has no shot. So,
Boise State's gonna have to pass to win that game.
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
All
Next
right,
player.
Let's see who the next
Come
team
on.
is. Let's see who the next player is. Who do we got? That's all right. Oh, Jeremiah
Smith, freshman phenom receiver for Ohio State.
We've already heard that the
5.
passing game has to
5.
come correct for Ohio State.
5.
You got to build in a little space. There's a strategy to the blind.
It's 5.
The blind
and
ranking.
here's the thing: the running. This game's going to be cold.
Yes.
This game's going to be won in the trenches.
Yeah.
Ohio State's tandem at running back. That's what's going to dictate ball control. Keep it out of Nico Emiliava's hands.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith. While he's going to have
love
an
that
impact. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that ranking.
See?
Hey.
You had doubt initially.
The first one I didn't like.
Really?
Yeah.
Where would you put Quinn? 1?
I would put him at 2.
That's interesting.
Let's see.
It was 1 away.
Let's see.
Who's the next guy?
You were one number away, like Luke Combs style?
You only
Yeah.
want.
Dylan Gabriel, buddy. 4. 2 is right there.
Well, okay.
Is he more impactful than Arch?
You know what? You know what? Go ahead. I took the first 2. You tell me how you feel.
2, please.
And tell me why.
2 for Dylan Gabriel.
Tell me why.
Name the running back for Oregon.
Jordan James.
I didn't think you'd be able to. Okay. I'm not saying they're a one-dimensional team. They give you enough to worry about, enough to respect as an opposing defense.
We do SportsCenter
through the ground.
Every single one of those shows, Jordan James is running in a touchdown.
That's not true.
Just so you know.
That's not true.
Just so you know.
Well, then why didn't he go to New York for the Heisman?
Because there was another guy named Ashton
His quarterback.
That's because Dylan Gabriel.
So,
and this sort of leads into your point. All-time leader in touchdowns.
This is the most important player at the most important position in the college football playoff. That's Dylan Gabriel.
So why didn't you put him at 1?
Let's see who the number 1 name is. Because you have to allow for your guy at Boise State, if he shows up, Cam Scatteraboo.
4.
That is a perfect 4. Aren't you glad we didn't put Dylan Gabriel at 4?
That's a perfect 4.
You'd be having Cam at 2.
And what you were saying
the
was
battering
Cam Scatteraboo.
Yes.
The movie's wrong.
I said gym rat. Well, we don't know how high he can jump.
Coach's kid.
Coach's kid, first in, last out.
First one in, last one out.
Bit of a dirt dog.
Kind of a lunch pail kind of guy.
Yeah. But bring your hard hat.
Cerebral.
A lot of that. Well, yeah. In all seriousness, Arizona State's offense goes through him. Almost exclusively. Losing who they lost, their best wide receiver. Their quarterback's got his legs under him, don't get me wrong. But you talk about legs in a battering ram?
Yeah.
Ball control, keep away, all of it.
Like
all right.
A human moose.
Last name, yes. He's a fire hydrant with eyebrows.
This is going to be one.
Who's this?
We nailed it.
Ashton Genty. God, hey, hit me with it. Oh! Come on. This is a one-man offense. True or false?
J-Bone. Really appreciate it.
Nice job.
Appreciate everything you do for the industry.
Thank you for your service.
Hey.
Appreciate you.
This is,
in all seriousness.
This is absolute nails right here because Ashton Genty.
Rocket fuel.
Who I don't have.
Close personal friend.
Close personal friend.
He rooted for Navy in the
Obviously.
Army-Navy game.
Here's the thing. Dad was in the Army. If he doesn't have the season he has, obviously there's no question Boise State isn't in this playoff. Let alone having a CFP bye week.
Yeah.
Ashton Genty, most important.
We got to run.
player in the CFP.
We got to run. Gary Striewski, Randy Scott. This has been the Kickoff, presented by Ram Trucks.